Darkness. Silence. The Kael'thar Huntress, HFY Ash, stands before the shattered remains of Solvar 9, the air thick with the scent of old war and distant death. Her warriors spread out in formation, scanning the ruins. The mission is simple: eliminate the last traces of an impossible myth. A human distress signal. A ghost of war. A challenge to Kael'thar supremacy. Clear the perimeter. I want this sector locked down in 5 minutes, HFY commands, her voice sharp, unwavering. The Kael'thar warriors move in perfect unison, precision, discipline, dominance. They have hunted apex predators across the stars, wiped civilizations from existence. No one stands against the Dominion. And yet something feels wrong. The ruins whisper secrets through the wind. There should be movement, creatures scurrying, shadows shifting. Instead, there is nothing but silence. HFY grips her blade, narrowing her eyes. This planet is dead. Scan for life signs, she orders. A scout kneels, activating his wrist console. Minimal biosignatures detected. Nothing sentient within range, Huntress. A grunt of satisfaction. Another myth debunked. Another sign of weakness exposed. HFY motions forward. This is a waste of my time, she mutters. Whatever called us here is already rotting. They move deeper into the ruins. Structures, long collapsed, stretch like broken bones across the landscape. The air is thick with dust, a weight pressing against them. Then a scream. Sharp, sudden. A warrior's cry, cut short. Weapons are drawn instantly. The formation tightens. Report. HFY barks. Silence. Her visor scans the area, thermal readings, motion detection, nothing. A ghost. Confirm our numbers, she growls. The squad leader counts. Eyes widen. We've lost 2. Lost? No. Warriors do not simply vanish. Something took them. HFY's grip tightens on her weapon. Regroup. Defensive formation. Another scream. Closer this time. Another Kael'thar warrior gone. Panic begins to ripple through the ranks. HFY sees it in their stance, in the way their hands tremble over their weapons. Stand your ground, she snaps. Then laughter. Cold. Amused. Human. It echoes through the ruins, a whisper threading through the stone, slithering through the comms. HFY's blood turns to ice. Who dares? A voice. Smooth, taunting. Did you really think you were the first? A shot rings out. A Kael'thar skull explodes. Chaos. The warriors fire into the darkness, but there is no target, only shadows. Only death. HFY snarls. Find him. Another shot. Another body falls. And then the whisper returns. You're not hunting me. You're surviving me. She grits her teeth. This is not war. This is a game. Enough. HFY taps her comm, switching to a private channel. Who are you? A chuckle. Your bedtime story. She lunges forward, blade drawn, firing into the dark. But there is nothing. Only another body. Another whisper. Run. The darkness is alive. It moves, breathes, hunts. HFY's warriors hold their ground, but fear grips them. She feels it. The tension in their stance, the hesitation in their movements. The whispers in their comms. A ghost stalks them, and every second that passes, more of them vanish into the abyss. Hold your positions. Her command is iron, her tone sharp. Weakness is death. A voice answers. Not her soldiers. Not Kael'thar. Holding positions won't save you. Another shot. A gurgling scream. Another warrior down. Find cover. She pivots, scanning the ruins, eyes sharp, mind focused. Thermals. Motion tracking. If he breathes, he burns. Scanners flash, targeting data floods her visor. Nothing. The battlefield mocks them. Her second in command, Lyrith, snarls. This isn't possible. No life signs, no heat, no. A knife rips through his throat. Not from afar. From the shadows right behind him. Blood sprays. A blur of motion, and the attacker is gone before her blade can strike. The moment shatters in her mind. This isn't a sniper. This is a predator. Up close. Personal. Her warriors are supposed to be apex hunters. Yet, one by one, they die like prey. Rage flares in her chest. Coward. Face me. Laughter, deep and mocking, cuts through the comms. Face you? Huntress, I already am. A rush of movement. The wind shifts. She whirls, blade high. Steel clashes. For the first time, she sees him. Human. Male. Battle-worn. Eyes like a wolf's. She swings, fast, precise, a killing blow. He's faster. A sidestep. A knife grazes her armor, inches from her throat. A heartbeat away from death. She shoves back, twisting, countering. He vanishes. Gone. Her pulse hammers. No one moves like that. No Kael'thas. No species she has ever fought. He should not exist. A voice behind her ear. Too close. Still think I'm a fairy tale? She strikes blindly, metal meets air. Nothing. Her warriors are breaking. Orders dissolve into panic. Some fire blindly, others fall back. None of them see him. She refuses to yield. A huntress of the Dominion does not yield. Enough. Her voice cuts through the chaos. Regroup. Tight formation. He bleeds, and I will have his blood. No laughter this time. No mockery. Only silence. Then, his voice. Quiet. Cold. Certain. You won't have my blood. A sharp click. A detonation charge underneath their feet. The world erupts. Flames engulf the ruins, the force of the blast tearing through the formation. Hekara crashes against stone, the impact knocking the air from her lungs. Ears ringing. Smoke blinding. A battlefield turned graveyard. She struggles up, vision swimming. Scattered bodies. The smell of burnt flesh. Her warriors, gone. A shadow moves through the wreckage. A familiar silhouette. He walks towards her. Slow. Deliberate. Unafraid. She grips her blade. No more games. She lunges. This time, he doesn't vanish. This time, he meets her head-on. Blades clash. Sparks fly. A brutal exchange, strike, counter, dodge, parry. He fights like nothing she has ever encountered, fast, ruthless, unpredictable. She feints, aiming low, he traps her wrist. A sudden twist, her weapon wrenches from her grasp. A mistake. A fatal one. She snarls, going for his throat with her claws, but he's already inside her defenses. A blade presses against her ribs, just under her armor. A moment of stillness. Her breath is ragged. His grip is firm. She is lost. For the first time in her life, she is lost. His voice is calm. This is what your people feared. He leans in, his words almost gentle. This is why they killed us before we could kill them. Her pride screams. She is Kael'thas. A huntress. A warrior without equal. And yet she is at his mercy. Her heart pounds against his blade. He watches her, expression unreadable. 1,000 thoughts flash through her mind. He should kill her. He should end it. But he doesn't. Instead, he steps back. The knife withdraws. Her body screams to react, to fight, to claw, to finish it. But her limbs betray her. They tremble. She is not used to this feeling. The feeling of being spared. His voice cuts through the silence. Tell your people. She forces herself upright, barely suppressing the tremor in her voice. Tell them what? He exhales. A slow, knowing smirk. That we're coming back. And then, just like before, he is gone. The pain in her ribs burned, but Hekara forced herself to stand. He had let her live. No warrior spares an enemy without reason. A message. A warning. A mockery of everything she was. The shame curdled in her gut like poison. She was Kael'thir. She had hunted apex predators across the galaxy. And now, she was prey. She tapped her comm survivors, report. The line crackled with static. No response. Silence. The only voices left were the dead. A voice cut through the comms, his voice. You're wasting your breath. They're gone. Her jaw clenched. You don't get to speak like you know me. The laugh was low, almost amused. I don't need to know you. I've killed enough of your kind to recognize the look in your eyes. She scanned the ruins. No movement. No heat signatures. His voice had no clear source. You don't fight like a soldier. She turned slowly, knowing he was close. You fight like something feral. War made me this way. Your people made me this way. So, you hunt for revenge? I hunt because I'm good at it. A flicker of movement. She spun, but nothing was there. Her fingers twitched toward the blade at her hip. Then why spare me? A pause. Then his voice shifted, calmer, controlled. Because you're different. Her grip tightened. You think I'm weak? No. I think you're learning. The words struck something deeper than she wanted to admit. Kael'thir did not learn from enemies. They conquered. Dominated. Yet here she stood, breathing, because he had let her. He was playing a long game. And she was part of it. She needed to regain control. If I'm learning, then tell me, human, what should I know? Another laugh. That this was never a battle. A sharp whistle rang out. Then, detonation. The ground beneath her cracked apart. Explosions erupted from the wreckage, chain reactions swallowing the ruins. She barely threw herself clear before the shockwave hit, rolling hard against stone and dust. Fire licked at the sky. Smoke choked the air. Another trap. Her body screamed as she pushed herself up. He was toying with her. Forcing her to see how weak she was. She bared her teeth, a snarl forming in her throat. This isn't a war, he said, his voice drifting from the destruction. This is extermination. Rage pushed her forward. Then finish it. Kill me. No. The refusal cut deeper than any wound. She had heard warriors beg for their lives in battle. She had never heard one beg to die. Her muscles tensed as she realized what she had just done. She had just asked him to prove his superiority. He had already won. Her breaths came short and fast. She wasn't used to this feeling. This wasn't fear. This was something worse. He spoke again, voice unreadable. Your people made a mistake when they erased us from history. She forced herself upright. A myth. That's what you were. His tone was ice. A myth that still kills your kind. Her hands curled into fists. You are one human. One soldier. You fight alone. Another pause. Do I? A sinking feeling twisted in her gut. He had let her live. He had left her breathing for a reason. Not to gloat. Not for mercy. To send her back. To deliver a message. You think your people can still win this war? His voice softened, but the weight in it was suffocating. You haven't fought my kind yet. You fought me. And you lost. She couldn't deny it. She had lost. And if he was just one. You don't understand what's coming, Huntress. His voice was closer now, as if he was standing just behind her. We're not fairy tales. We were never gone. The air felt colder. She turned, nothing but smoke and ruin. She whispered, more to herself than to him. Then where are they? Silence. Then. Waiting. The wind shifted. She looked up. And the sky began to burn. The sky burned. Not with fire, not with weapons, but with something worse, realization. The weight of the moment crushed the breath from Hekara's lungs. The human was not alone. He had never been alone. You should be proud, his voice drifted through the chaos. You're the first of your kind to see this and still be standing. Her throat was dry. What am I looking at? You tell me, Huntress. You Kael'thar love to name things. She watched as the warships uncloaked, their jagged, alien hulls gleaming in the dying light of the ruin. They weren't Dominion ships. They weren't like anything she had seen before. Predatory. Efficient. Designed for one purpose. You think we disappeared, he continued, his voice calm, unwavering. You think we burned out. Faded. Died. A short pause. We didn't. Her fingers twitched toward her blade. Your species went extinct. Did we? The amusement in his voice burned hotter than the wreckage around her. Or did we learn? Adapt? Wait? The way he said it sent a shiver down her spine. Kael'thar were warriors. Hunters. The Dominion crushed anything that threatened its rule. How had this gone unnoticed? She steadied her breath. If you had power, you would have used it by now. You think war is about power? His tone darkened. That's why your kind will lose. Her eyes flicked between the ships. Silent. Waiting. Watching. You can't win. The Dominion is an empire. You are a remnant. We are a promise. Something about the way he said it calm, unshaken, made her pulse quicken. A low hum rippled through the air. Weapons powering up. Her instincts screamed at her to move, to run, to call for extraction. But she didn't. She couldn't. Her pride was too thick, her training too ingrained. You're stalling, she said, willing steel into her voice. If you had the advantage, you'd have already struck. And yet, I let you live. She hated the truth of it. The unspoken why. You're not here to fight me, Huntress. You're here to carry my words back to your warlords. She forced a laugh. You expect me to run home with ghost stories? You'll run because you have no choice. She scoffed, but her grip on her blade was white-knuckled. What makes you so sure? A pause. Then, look up. She did. And her blood ran cold. The Dominion fleet, her fleet, the warships orbiting Solvar 9, were moving. But not by their own will. Their engines were flaring too bright, their trajectories too wild. They were being pulled. Dragged into position. Like prey. Her comms flared with panicked voices. Control is compromised. Weapons disabled. Something's inside the system. She took a step back. This isn't possible. You spent centuries thinking we were dead, the human murmured. Did you really think we sat still while you ruled the stars? Her breath hitched. This is a bluff. A trick. The hum of the ships in the sky grew louder. Then call their bluff. The challenge sank into her bones. Her mind raced. If the Dominion lost control of its fleet, if this was true, it was more than just an isolated battle. It was the first move in a war. The first move made by ghosts. She clenched her fists. If you had the power to wipe us out, you'd have done it already. You don't wipe out what you plan to use. Her breath stilled. Use? You're warriors. We don't need warriors. We need an enemy. A silence stretched between them. He let her feel the weight of it, the shift in understanding. You wanted to hunt, he said. So, we became something worthy of being hunted. Her chest rose and fell with short, sharp breaths. You think you can control a war against the Dominion? No, he admitted. But we can make you bleed. The words sent ice through her veins. And that's the difference between us, Huntress, he continued. You fight to conquer. We fight to survive. She had no response. You go home now, he said, his voice suddenly lighter. You tell them what you saw. What you felt. You tell them a war is coming. She swallowed hard. And if I don't? The pause stretched just long enough to make her heart hammer. Then we start with you. For the first time in her life, Hekara turned away from a battlefield. And ran. Hekara ran, but the voice followed her. It didn't taunt her. It didn't mock her. It simply existed, a presence in her mind she could not shake. You feel it now, don't you? Her breath was ragged. Feel what? The shift. The weight of something larger than yourself. You never expected to lose. Her steps faltered. I am not defeated. You're alive because I chose it. The truth burned worse than any wound. She clenched her fists, forcing her body forward, forcing her mind to ignore the unraveling edges of her pride. She needed to reach her ship, needed to call for reinforcements, needed to end this. You're still trying to make sense of it, the voice continued, calm, measured. Still trying to believe that your empire, your gods, cannot be touched. They cannot, she spat, her words venomous. The response came softer. Then why are you running? She stopped. Just for a second. A flicker of hesitation. A seed of doubt planted so deep that it clawed at the foundation of everything she believed. And she hated him for it. Because I am not a fool. A chuckle, dark and knowing. Good. That means you'll live long enough to understand what's coming. She reached her landing craft, boots slamming against metal as she activated the launch sequence. The systems booted, status lights flashing red across the controls. Her hands moved on instinct, initiating emergency takeoff. The comms crackled again. Leaving so soon? She slammed a fist against the panel. I will return, human. And when I do, I will burn every trace of you from this system. Silence. Then. You won't. Her snarl curled in her throat. You underestimate the Dominion's reach. I don't underestimate anything. The weight of certainty in his voice made her grip tighten on the controls. That's why we're still here. The engines roared to life, dust spiraling as the ship lifted from the surface. The wreckage of Solvar 9 shrank beneath her, a battlefield she had lost. She couldn't accept that. Tell me your name. A pause. Elias Vance. A name. Simple. Human. Not a warlord's title, not a commander's rank. Just a name. And yet it carried the weight of a species that refused to die. You are one man, she said. The comms crackled. I am one blade. But when the time comes, I won't be the one swinging it. The words sent a shiver through her spine. You wanted us gone, he continued. You wiped us from your history. Buried our existence beneath lies and propaganda. Told yourselves we were a mistake, a fleeting ember that burned out. Her throat tightened. You should have finished the job. She exhaled sharply, forcing steel into her voice. The Dominion does not lose wars. The pause was long this time. Then. Neither do we. The warship loomed ahead, the safety of the Dominion's might waiting for her. The Kael'thar fleet was still out of sync, struggling against the interference, their systems compromised by something unseen. Something human. Go home, Huntress, Elias said. Tell your warlords the truth. She clenched her teeth. And what truth is that? The final words came like a death knell. Your nightmare is real. The transmission cut. Hekara stared at the controls, at her own reflection in the glass. A huntress. A warrior. A woman who had seen the impossible. Her claws dug into her palm as she whispered to herself. Then we will remind them why we were feared. The ship vanished into the void.